And this is where Shruti speaks. From the Katha Upanishad 1:1-2. Śreyascha preyascha manushyametah tau samparitya vivinakti dhirah. Shreyah hi dhirah abhipreyaso vranite, preyo mandah yogakshemat vranite. The good and the pleasant approach a person. The wise examine both and choose carefully. The wise choose the good over the pleasant. The unwise choose the pleasant for the sake of comfort and gain. Now look back. At every moment, Nal was given a choice. When the invitation to gamble came, Śreyas was to refuse. Preyas was to accept. He chose Preyas. When he began to lose, Śreyas was to stop. Preyas was to continue. He chose Preyas. When his mind began to collapse, Śreyas was to hold on to clarity. Preyas was to escape the pain. He chose Preyas. And when Damayantī stood beside him, Śreyas was to remain. Preyas was to walk away. He chose Preyas. Understand this clearly. Nothing happened suddenly. No single moment destroyed him. It was a pattern, a repeated choice of the pleasant over the right. And that is how Dharma collapses. Not through ignorance, but through preference. So the question is not, did Nal know what was right? He did. The real question is, why did he not choose it? Because knowing Dharma is not the same as choosing it. And this is the truth Shruti reveals. Every moment you are given both, Śreyas and Preyas, and your life becomes the result of which one you choose. And this is where the fall is finally understood. So now the question is different. Not how he fell, but can he rise? Because if Dharma can be lost, can it be restored? From the Mahabharat, Van Parva. Satu dukh pariklishto nalo dharma manusmaran, charan deshan bahun, raja swatmanam punaravishat. Afflicted by suffering, Nal, remembering Dharma, wandering through many lands, gradually returned to himself. Understand that line. He returned to himself, not to his kingdom, not to his power, to himself. Because the real loss was never the kingdom. It was self-mastery, and the recovery begins there, not outside, inside. And this is where Smriti speaks. From the Arthashastra. Indriyajayah sarvarthanam moolam. Control of the senses is the foundation of all prosperity. And also, vyasanani hi manushyanam nashaya bhavanti. Vices become the cause of a man's destruction. Now look at Nal. He lost control. He allowed vice to take hold, and everything followed. But now, he does something different. He observes, he remembers, he regains control, slowly, without noise. And that is how Dharma returns. Not through victory, but through discipline. So ask yourself, what is real strength? Is it power? Or the ability to stop yourself when you must? Because wealth can return, kingdoms can return, but without self-control, nothing stays. And when control returns, everything else follows. And what was lost returns, not by chance, but because the man has become worthy of it again. And this is the real end of the story. Not when the kingdom is restored, but when the self is restored. And that is the lesson. Dharma is not tested when everything is stable. It is tested when you are tempted, when you are losing, when you are broken. And in that moment, you are given the same choice: Śreyas or Preyas. And what you choose will decide whether you fall or rise. So now you understand how a king lost everything. Not in one moment, but through small choices repeated. And now you may ask, is that the end? It is not, because Nal does not remain in the forest forever. And Damayantī does not break. Even after being abandoned, she remains steadfast. She wanders, she suffers, but she does not turn away from her dharma. And Nala, who has lost his kingdom, now loses something else: his form. He is changed, unrecognizable, forced to live without identity. And yet, that is where the real transformation begins. Because before anything is restored, the man himself must be rebuilt. Not as a king, but as one who has learned what he once ignored. And she will not simply wait. She will search. She will test. And when the moment comes, she will not recognize him by face, but by something deeper. In part 2, we will see what happens next. How a man who lost himself is forced to rebuild from nothing. How a woman, abandoned in the forest, becomes the one who finds the truth. And how, without certainty, without recognition, without even a name, they find their way back. Not by chance, but by dharma. Because some stories do not end in the fall, they begin after it.